Now, in other news, you may have heard that Tel Aviv was recently rated as the most expensive city to live in on Earth. And now a new report showing that it's no longer Israel's most liberal city either, with the title instead going to the neighboring Givatayim. So given the changes, many are recording an exodus of sorts from the city. But here to discuss it further is economic consumer behavior expert and assistant professor Vili Abraham. Vili, it's great to have you back. Thank you so much. Now, break down this so-called exodus in numbers for us. How many people are actually leaving the city and who's replacing them?
All right, so we're talking about thousands of individuals. And by the way, I have to point out that it's not something new. If you look at data that was published by the Central Bureau of Statistics since 2017 at least, there are thousands of people who are leaving Tel Aviv because it's becoming so expensive. If you look at all the countries, all the cities in Israel, it's the top most expensive as far as rents are concerned. The average apartment goes for around 5,900 shekels a month, and then it's Kfar Saba, 4,600 shekels. And as you go further from the center and towards the periphery, you're paying less. So for example, in Bnei Brak, the average rent is about 3,700 shekels. And the most popular city in Israel where people are immigrating to from Tel Aviv is Rosh Hain. And then we also have Be'er Yaakov. And if you look further north, we have Afula, which is enjoying positive immigration, meaning more people coming in the city than leaving the city.
All right, so, before I get to some of these other areas in the periphery, because I do want to talk about that, my second question is, could an exodus of sorts from Tel Aviv actually be a blessing in disguise, a catalyst for long-stalled development of the periphery?
Yes, if you look at the periphery, there's a lot of land that is not being used, but there's a lot of building going on, a lot of construction. So it could be a stimulus for a lot of young individuals to populate the periphery. And by the way, they are doing it because it's so expensive. In general, life is expensive in Israel, but even more so in the center of the country. So what has been happening since COVID-19 is that the younger population has been leaving Tel Aviv. First, because they weren't able to pay the high rent. And second of all, the nightlife that they were so used to and that was so attractive to them came to a halt. I mean, in certain months during COVID, when there are lockdowns, basically Tel Aviv was a ghost town. So the Tel Aviv population, my close friends who live there, they just left because they said, why should I pay $2,000 a month for rent if I can't enjoy the nightlife? So it's really not worthwhile anymore.
All right, so back to some of the new areas. Basically, the nearby areas aren't exactly that much cheaper either. You mentioned Bnei Brak, but that is a very, very religious area, and so it's not exactly the most fitting neighborhood for all the people who are coming out of Tel Aviv. So where exactly is everybody going in this exodus? Where can a young married couple, maybe with a kid, maybe not, find a decently sized and decently priced apartment for rent in central Israel? Maybe 3 bedrooms too, asking for a friend.
Okay, so according to the latest data that I was able to find, again, Rosh Hain is the most popular. But if you look at more reasonable prices and more secular cities in the center of the country, then you have Holon, which the average rent is about 4,000 shekels, and Rishon LeZion, which is a little bit higher, but still about 1,500 shekels less than Tel Aviv. But still, the average family makes around 17,000 shekels a month. So paying 4,600 a month for rent or 5.9 is about 33% of their income. So that's really, really high, considering the fact that land taxes are expected to increase and prices in the grocery, et cetera, et cetera. But the most attractive places really are, I think, Holon, Rishon LeZion, Afula, Petach Tikva, which are a lot cheaper and more attractive to younger individuals.
All right, Vili Abraham, thank you so much for joining us again.
It was a pleasure.
ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at iltv.tv and watch from any device.